If you're trying to build and deepen relationships to be productive in anything, whether work or in life, as you pointed out, there's research that says taking a vacation will help you in the long run, then you got to prioritize it. And I think where it starts within your reality, picking an appropriate type of vacation, what's something that you enjoy to do, what's something that you can afford to do. Travel doesn't have to be expensive.
Hey, Eric, got a question for you. You know, I just went on vacation. I've been out of New Orleans for a couple of weeks and back from vacation feeling refreshed. So I wanted to talk about vacations today, and I want to start with asking you about a great vacation memory that you have.
Oh man, like one vacation memory that I have. I don't know if I can think of just one, but like I have like these memories as a child. You know, vacation was something that I would say my parents valued. They always made sure that we went on an annual vacation. So as a kid, we would go to Destin every year. And I remember we would stay in this hotel. They had a timeshare, and it was across the main highway from the beach. And it was one of those hotels where you could get to the room from the outside of the street, but they all opened up like into this like courtyard area, right? There was a big pool in the middle. And I just remember as kids, me, my brother, and my sister having water gun fights, like running up and down. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like this like indoor garden area, and they had like the tiki hut and this pool. And I just remember having these vivid memories of us having water gun fights, running up and down the corridors.
In Destin, Florida. What a magical
Florida.
Place for New Orleanians. We love to flock to Destin.
But man, I remember we'd get all our beach stuff together and have to cross, I think, Highway 98, right? So it wasn't like right there, and we'd be lugging them around and crossing the road. But
you had to work for it.
That was the fun memory. Yeah.
Yeah. You had to want the beach. Wasn't easy back then.
Yeah.
That's great, man. I love vacations, and I want to talk about vacations because I think they're so important. Vacations are not, in my opinion, a luxury. They are a necessity.
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, you make me share a vacation experience. You share a vacation experience.
Well, I was just traveling, and I was at my parents' house, and they have a picture of my wife and I when we were just married, and we were in China. We were in a little village in China. And behind us is the Chinese village. It's a very old city. Like there was a bridge that we crossed every day. That was a little footbridge that was 800 years old.
Oh wow!
And in the background are the beautiful Chinese architecture of the village, but also there's a Himalayan mountain rising in the background. And just seeing that picture, seeing us at that age and stage of our life, you know, pre-kids, traveling around the world in some small village. I think it was called Lijiang, China. Mm-hmm. That was that's a magical memory. And I actually was spending last night trying to locate that photo on my computers. I save a lot of pictures. I was trying to find that picture and cannot find it anywhere. And my parents have a copy of it at their house. So
can they scan it to you? Are they that? What's their technological IQ? Can they scan it?
They could probably take a picture of it.
Take a picture of a picture. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, and email me or text me the picture. Yeah, they could probably do that. But that was a great memory, and I remember being there in that village. The World Cup was being played that year in China and South Korea, I think. And so
did you catch a game?
Every evening, people would gather in the like town square, and they would project the games on. China was playing in the World Cup, and they would project the games, and it was very exciting. There was a little restaurant that made these banana smoothies that were so delicious, and it's a cool place to be.
Oh man, hold on. You made me think of another memory that's just like that's so cool. You talk about the World Cup happening. I was on a business trip it was in Prague, okay? And it just so happened that the Czech Republic was in the hockey World Cup, And the day we landed, they were playing the U.S.
Wow.
U.S. lost, the Czechs won. The Czechs ended up going into the finals. So in Old Town Square in Prague, it's this huge. I mean, think of like Jackson Square like 100 times. It's just huge, surrounded by buildings built back like 500-600-year-old buildings. They had these 3 giant screens that they played the final on, and the square was packed full of people. That was a pretty cool. That was a pretty cool memory. It's kind of like tailgating for a Saints game. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Anyway.
unforgettable.
Anyway,
And vacations and travel give us these memories that to us are priceless. I mean, there's lots of research that shows that people often value the experience and the memory more than the material possession that they acquired on the trip or prior to the trip, that the memory is really important. And so that's really what I want to think about today is the necessity of vacations and travel. So what would you say are some of the benefits of vacations? There's a whole body of research that deals with leisure and health benefits of time away and leisure. So what, just off the top of your head, what would you guess are some of the benefits?
I mean, if you're going to the beach, the tan, maybe, right? Getting the tan? No? For leisure, I guess just the idea of relaxation, right?
Yeah. And
you're
so
the
relaxation.
therapist. Dude, I'm the money guy. You're the therapist. You tell me what are the benefits?
Let's just talk about relaxation for a minute. So if you kind of acknowledge that life is stressful, that day in, day out life, the grind of life is stressful, that there are stressors a part of your life. And if you think about the impact of that stress chronically on your body, we know that chronic stress has all kinds of negative health outcomes. Mm-hmm. So getting away and removing yourself from those stressors, that chronic stress, not that travel is not stressful at times, or not that vacation is stress-free, it's not that, but it's getting away from your chronic stressors, has all kinds of documented positive health outcomes, like more rest, more sleep, better for your heart, all kinds of positive heart outcomes, ways to connect with your traveling partner, perhaps your spouse or your kids. I was reading an article recently about people who vacation regularly report a better sex life, and that people who vacation regularly often feel more sexy and more attractive
So
to their
should that have
spouse.
been my answer when you said what's one of the benefits of traveling? Should that have been my first answer?
You could go with that. Well, I mean, you led with the headline of less stress, and less stress is correlated with better connection with your partner, which is correlated with better sex. Yes, less stress.
The couples counselor, the relationship doctor.
That's right. People are often wanting to connect more, and connecting sexually on vacation is a real thing. There's documented evidence about vacation sex being better than day in, day out home sex.
Man, when did our show turn about sex?
Well, anytime we start talking about vacations.
Oh, I think our ratings just shot through the roof.
People who vacation regularly, yes.
So if stress is relief of stress is one of the benefits of vacation, and decompressing is kind of like a secondary benefit, I'm sure decompressing leads to sex as well. Then, right? Is that the?
Yeah, I mean,
is that the line here?
Yeah, I would say it. If you want to think about sexual libido as having like a gas pedal and a brake pedal, things that accelerate it and things that slow it down. So stress is one of the major brake pedal for sexual libido. As people feel more stressed, for most people, not everybody, but for most people, as they feel more stressed, they feel less sexually interested and aroused, and therefore it negatively correlates with sex.
I got to admit, I was prepared to talk about vacation and not sex on this recording. So I'm a little, taken off guard here. So it's not in the show notes, man. This isn't in the show
And
notes.
not in the show notes that we were going to mention sex so many times. But you brought up the term decompression. So I think about decompression as really an individualistic benefit of vacations. Is that me as a person, when I'm away on vacation or traveling, I feel I feel like pressure and stress kind of decrease in me over time, and so there's an individual benefit of that. And um, research has even shown that it takes several days for us to decompress, and so our vacations need to be a certain length of time. There was a pretty famous study that came out 2 years ago, I think, that stated pretty unequivocally that vacations need to last at least 8 days.
8 days? I've been doing
Eight
it wrong.
days to really decompress and to
Wow.
experience the stress reduction and um, the full benefit of the leisure from vacation. People need to be away at least 8 days.
Sometimes when most of our vacations that we go on as a family are within driving distance, and most of them have to do with the beach. So
Yeah.
we're driving out of New Orleans through New Orleans East, and especially the more stressful times when we're going on vacation, I can almost physically feel the stress kind of melting away. The closer I get to Slidell, I can
Yeah.
like almost physically feel the stress melting away.
Yeah. So for those unfamiliar with our New Orleans geography, you drive through New Orleans East, and then you come to a big bridge, the Twin Span. It crosses a section of Lake Pontchartrain, and it's several miles before you get to Slidell. And it does, you can feel kind of leaving the stress behind in New Orleans and
It's lovely.
carrying with you a new attitude as you get into
I think
Slidell.
actually I could probably the days where I'm stressed out, I could probably not go on vacation and just take that drive and feel just like I've been conditioned to feel the stress go away. So maybe I can just make that drive on stressful weeks.
Yeah, just get in your car, drive over there, and see if it has
Eight
the
days
same
though,
effect.
wow. That's 8 days. That's a long vacation.
That's right. That's a long vacation for Americans. Americans are not accustomed to taking that much time off from work. Even for Americans that have vacation days, often they're leaving them unused at the end of the year. They have the ability to take off that much time, but they're not. We culturally are not comfortable with being away that long. We think it is irresponsible, or it's too indulgent, or it's too long, or we worry that we'll miss something at work, or somebody will get our job, or something like that. So just culturally, we're kind of afraid to take longer.
8 days, like, but I mean, as a business owner, I have to answer to myself and to my mortgage company and to everyone I owe money to, and the grocery store. So like, no one's telling me to have to come to work. It's just the fact that I need to work. But I
Yeah,
feel like if I took that long off, that for that long of a period, I feel like I'd be leaving a lot undone, or not undone, but waiting for me. If that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Again, I think that's more cultural, that we're not used to taking that much time off, and so we don't know how to prepare for it. We don't know how to structure the month leading up to that 8 day break to prepare for it. I have, for years now, taken 2 to 3 weeks off in the summer to go out west where I'm from, and so in doing that, I have to prepare June. I have to spend time in June preparing for that financially, also to arrange the classes that I'm teaching, to talk to my clients about being away that long. I have to do all of that in preparation to be away that long, and I think once you get used to that, once you expect to do that, it's not that difficult. But yeah, 8 days is a long time.
So you made a good point about like the intentionality and being purposeful about planning. I want to come back to that, but I want to stick on this idea of vacation and stress free, because I know that there's vacations that I go on, and there's sometimes like I just can't wait to get back home. I
Yeah,
wonder if that's just the anticipation of the stress starting to rebuild. Like, oh my gosh, we got to get home because there's just so much to do, and I can't be away any longer. And
yeah.
maybe that's that
Again,
conditioning.
and that's part of why that particular study found that 8 days was the minimum length of time to be away, because it does take a few days to really unwind from that stress. So let's say you're already on day 3 or 4 of your vacation, and then it takes a few days of kind of anticipatory stress, thinking about returning to work, that kind of occupies people's minds while they're on vacation, but at the end of vacation. So if you're only taking 4 or 5 days for vacation, you're not really unwinding fully before you're rewinding, if you will.
Yeah. What about those vacations that you go on and you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a vacation now.
Yeah.
Right.
I need a vacation from my vacation. We often, travel is stressful, and travel can be really stressful. And so we need to build in a buffer time between the end of our vacation and the start of our work. I learned years ago that when I would take a few weeks off in the summer, if I was driving back to New Orleans and was going to get home at 10 p.m. and then had scheduled myself a full day of clients the next day, that became dreadful. I mean, I was just not at my best then. I needed another day to just kind of
Yeah.
rest and relax and get ready to go back to work. And so I had to start building in a buffer to do that. And I think that's something I learned about myself in
Well,
traveling.
something else that I kind of fought it at first, but my wife does not like to go on vacation leaving a messy house. So
Yeah.
like when we leave, the house is spotless,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, come on, let's just go. But then we get home, and I'm so thankful that it's picked up, it's organized, because you're
Yeah.
trying to unpack and
Yeah. Yeah. When you're trying to organize a whole family, and you're gonna come home together. A lot of people like to come home to a clean house, and not more work when they get home.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it takes intentionality to actually do that.
I was thinking about a trip that I had scheduled this year that we had to cancel. Our family we're planning to travel to Japan
Yeah,
in April. I think we were set to leave April 1st, and by about mid-March, with COVID and Corona worldwide, that trip got coronaed, and we had to cancel it. But flying that far from home, we knew that we were going to have some jet lag when we returned home, and so we were coming home a couple of days earlier than we needed to for the kids' school. We were coming home a couple of days earlier just so everybody could have a few days to try to reset their clock,
yeah,
their body clocks, as we're adjusting back to this time zone. So all of that's part of making travel less stressful, so that you can enjoy the stress reduction aspects of travel.
hmm
The
yeah.
other thing that I really want to mention about travel is how connective it is for families. I mean, how many great memories are built between fathers and sons, and husbands and wives, and parents and kids as they're traveling together.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
You
kind of what we talk about, right? Invest in your relationships, and
and
travel, I think, does that. One of the things you mentioned earlier, kind of in your opening statements, is the experience of travel, right? It's that experience. Oftentimes, paying for the experience is better, more fulfilling than any material. I don't know, anything that you get from the trip itself. And I think that when you have shared experiences with people,
yeah,
and you spend money on memories, those shared experiences absolutely do create a bond that I don't think you really can get anywhere else.
right. That shared doing something exciting together, doing something beautiful together, um, is bonding. It connects us, and it makes us feel more connected to each other.
I mean,
I just returned from our annual summer camping trip, where we camp out in Colorado together as a family. And while we're there, we ride dirt bikes. And on this particular dirt bike trip, you know, my youngest son, who's still smaller than he's small, so he can't ride a full size adult dirt bike yet. But guess what? He was trying to ride a full size adult dirt bike, and what he does is he sets up a little chair next to it, and so he can put his foot on the chair, and he takes off and he rides it around for a little bit. And when he comes back, he pulls up throws on the brakes right next to the chair and puts his foot on it. And it was working great, except for one time. Except for one time he missed and the bike fell over and broke one of the clutch lever, snapped it off, and we all, laughed about that. And after we checked to make sure he wasn't hurt, we all laughed about it. And it's a good memory now. We all will remember that memory as he continues to age and grow. That won't happen to him, in the next few years. He'll be able to ride a full-size dirt bike. But for now, it's a good memory to remember. Remember that time when you couldn't do that and how that happened, and good memories.
Yeah, so the experience of travel. I remember years ago, it was me, you, and another friend. We went on a kind of a professional retreat, right? We're going to get away, and we're going to work on our businesses. And, we had a couple writing.
It's kind of a writing retreat.
A writing retreat. And I remember it was I want to say it was in January or late December because it was cold. And, it was chilly outside, and it was right on the beach. It was awesome. So we decided that, hey, you know what? Let's go jump in the ocean. Let's challenge each other. You get guys in a room like, hey, I dare you to jump in the water. And I just remember that
in January.
The water was freezing, and that's kind of one of those memories. It's kind of, hey, remember that time?
And I was there, and I did that, and I didn't remember that until just now when you brought it up. So that's a bonding experience of reminiscing about traveling together and vacations together. I have a story I like to tell where I traveled a long time ago. I traveled to Yemen, a wild country in the Middle East, and we were in a village in Yemen, and it was just me and a couple of other guys, and we had been like in the city park in the center of town. We were walking back through the neighborhood to where we were staying, and all of a sudden, this is about dusk, so it's kind of starting to get dark, and all of a sudden we come across this. We come to an intersection in the neighborhood, and there's like 100 men in that intersection. I'm like, oh my God, what have we stumbled upon? And they're all dressed in their very traditional dress for what Yemenis wear in that part of the country. They have long robes, and they have their ornamental knife that they wear around their belt, and they have their head wraps on and all of that, and they're kind of in a huddle. So we're wondering what's happening, but we got to go around this or through this to go where we're going. So as we get closer, we realize that they're singing. They're actually singing, and then they spread out and form a big circle that takes up the whole intersection. So now we're kind of blocked. But they see us coming. They look at us and they invite us into the circle. And essentially, what is happening is we're at a groom's party for a wedding.
Oh,
There's
wow.
a guy there who's getting married, and they're singing and dancing. All the men are waiting for the bride to come, and so they're singing and dancing and celebrating, enjoying each other in anticipation of the bride coming. And so they invited us into that circle and taught us how to sing and dance with them. And I remember that the groom even took off his kind of special ornamental shawl robe thing that he had on and put it around my shoulders.
Oh, wow.
So that I could experience like the full authentic Yemeni wedding party. It was very exciting, very moving.
How
very
cool
powerful.
would it be if you could connect with that guy today and just share that experience?
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be cool.
For sure. Unforgettable for me. I mean, that was almost 20 years ago, and I still remember it very vividly. Unforgettable.
When I was in college, we went to a friend of mine did a lot of mission work down in Belize, and he took a group of us with him. And Belize is right on the border of Mexico. So there was this little Mexican restaurant, this little town. I forget the town name, but right on the other side of the border in Mexico. So he wanted to take us to go eat there. So, there's like 8 or 10 of us, and we pile into this like Scooby-Doo looking type of van, right? So we drive across the border. Everything's cool. We're coming back at night, and there's flares in the middle of the road. We're approaching the border, and there's Mexican military men, militia, like standing in the street with, I don't know, AK-47s, whatever gun of choice. And they pull us over, and Bob's like, all right, don't say a word. Just y'all don't say anything. I'll handle it. So there's like 10 of us in this van. Guy opens the sliding door. He leans in. His gun is like right by me. He peers in, and we're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then, we say a couple words, and he just kind of waves us through. But that's kind of one of those memories. Like, remember that time?
Yeah.
That we get searched by the Mexican military on the way back to Belize?
Exciting. Just to go eat Mexican food.
It was delicious.
So in thinking about the necessity of vacations, there's this idea about stress reduction and decompression. There's this idea about connecting with family members and making memories and reminiscing about those shared experiences and bonding. For you, Erik, how do we think about financing these vacations and trips? How do we build this into our budget?
Yeah. It's a good question. First, I think what's important is, as you just said, you got to recognize that it's important. It's got to be a value to you. It's got to be something that you deem important and that you want to do. So if you're trying to build and deepen relationships, if you're trying to be productive in anything, whether work or in life, and we know, as you pointed out, there's research that says taking a vacation will actually help you in the long run, then you got to prioritize it. And I think where it starts with kind of within your reality, picking an appropriate type of vacation. What's something that you enjoy to do, number one? What's something that you can afford to do, number two? Yeah. And then plan and be intentional about it, right? So obviously, a trip to Japan is a big financial undertaking, and that might take months or maybe years to plan for. Right, we're planning a trip to Europe when my daughter graduates from high school. Mm-hmm. Right, so like we're planning for that. I mean, it's a lot of people to travel overseas, so you start to plan and you're intentional about that. But it's easy to take a trip, especially for us in New Orleans, down to the Gulf Coast. You go to Florida, you can go to Gulf Shores. That's a relatively inexpensive trip, but I think you got to plan for it. And one thing I'm a big fan of is actually separating money aside for it. So like literally go open a bank account and call it my vacation fund, and figure out where you want to go. I mean, do your research, figure out the cost, and save for it.
Yeah, find a strategy of putting money in that account that works for you and your habits. So if that's even partitioning some of your direct deposit into that account.
Yeah.
Do it in a way that works for you, that you can routinely set that money aside. It's not that, you get to the end of the year and we have some extra money. Okay, now let's travel. No, we value travel. We want to do this. We want to make this part of our family's life. So we've got to routinely and regularly set aside money for that.
Yeah, travel doesn't have to be expensive. I think the idea is that people think, vacation, you gotta be rich to go on vacation. But I remember as a kid, and my dad he'll even tell us these stories. He goes, growing up, we didn't have much money, but we made vacation a priority. We made sure that we took a trip every year together as a family, and it was just something that they prioritized, and they made it happen. They saved for it. Yeah. It wasn't the nicest of hotels, right? It wasn't right on the beach. Right, we had to pack a bag and walk across the highway to get to the beach. But man, we have such wonderful memories of those trips. And then if you're more successful, your trips become a little bit nicer. But it's all about being intentional and planning for it. Man, I remember as a kid, my dad had and I don't know how long I don't know if you remember this. Based off of your history in New Orleans, but you remember Kentwood Water? You've been around. Kentwood was around.
Yeah. Kentwood's still around.
Are they still around? Okay.
Yeah.
My dad, he had an empty 5-gallon Kentwood jug of water in his closet, and he would collect coins in there. Ironically, the U.S. is in a coin shortage right now, but anyway, he would collect coins.
They're in people's closets. In Kentwood water jugs.
That's right. No one's using them. I actually have a piggy bank right behind me, if you can see it in the video. But he would collect coins throughout the year. He'd empty his pocket, collect coins, and before the vacation, he would take it to the bank. I remember going with him to the bank, and he would convert it to dollars, and he would split it with me and my brother and my sister, and that was our spending money for vacation. Right? It was just a good memory. It was fun. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was meaningful. But that's a good example of intentionality. right? I'm
Yeah.
setting aside money, physically setting it aside for a very specific purpose, spending money on vacation. And I think it's the same thing when we look at a hotel cost or food costs or whatever costs. It's being
Yeah.
intentional, purposeful, and it could take 12 months.
And sequestering that money away, in this case, in a Kentwood water,
Sequestering. That's such a
setting it aside,
it's such a fancy word.
putting that money in a place that's different than where the rest of your money is.
Yeah. And I think something too, and if you're listening to this podcast, go listen to the previous one, Keeping Up with the Joneses. Don't try to mimic someone else's vacation. Just because they went to an expensive hotel at a quote unquote nicer beach or a chalet in the mountains doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Because I don't think you need that to experience the benefit of vacation.
Yeah, there's travel for everyone's budget. My dad would take us camping, and camping was relatively inexpensive once we had the equipment. And those were great memories. We still talk about some of those camping trips, and we like to go backpacking. And backpacking is, again, relatively inexpensive once you have the equipment. And equipment has gotten cheaper over the years. So there's travel for everybody's budget.
Yeah. I think something important to note is don't go into debt to go on vacation.
Mm.
The benefits of vacation, you're just going to wipe them away based with the anxiety of adding more debt.
If one of the benefits is stress reduction, going into debt to get that stress reduction is going to add more stress, and it's going to cancel each other out.
Counterintuitive. And the solution isn't, well, I just can't go on vacation. I remember my wife and I, it was just kind of a busy season of life. It was a stressful season of life. The kids were young, and it was like, we need to get out of the city for a day. We literally drove 3 hours to Pensacola or to the Gulf Shores area, left early in the morning, brought a little camping stove, spent the day on the beach, and came back that night. And that trip was inexpensive, and it was incredibly beneficial from a decompression, reconnecting, just getting away standpoint. It wasn't 8 days. 8 days would have been nice.
Yeah, but even day vacations, staycations, each Friday afternoon, I'll often knock off from work and ride my bike from my house to the French Quarter, and that's kind of a mini vacation for me. I love to be in the French Quarter to experience the energy of the quarter, but also just riding my bike there and back is exercise. I'm out in the air. It's stress reduction. So there's lots of ways to get the benefits of vacation into your life without having to take an 8-day Japan trip.
Yeah,
or Yemen trip.
An 8 day. If I'm going to Japan, I'm staying longer than 8 days.
That's right.
But I think one thing that's important to note is vacation does cost money. So there's an intentionality in saying, I am going to allocate some of my money towards this item, towards this vacation that costs money. Some people have enough discretionary money to be able to do that without changing anything else in their lifestyle. But for some people, it may be intentional decisions to say, you know what, I need to cut somewhere else because I value vacation and I don't make enough money in my current lifestyle to take the vacation that I want. So it may take some intentionality in that, I may, cut out cable or drink, 3 less Starbucks. We always pick on Starbucks, but if you drink 3 less lattes at Starbucks a week, you're saving $15 a week. Right. So that could go towards vacation. So that's that intentionality. That's being purposeful with your money, because the idea is an investment. The idea of an investment is I am spending money to be able to make more money. I'm not spending it to waste it. I'm spending it to get something in return greater than what I'm spending. It could be the memory, and it could be more productivity when I come back from vacation at work because I'm clearer, I'm more sharp. But that's the idea of investing in yourself, investing in your relationships. Yeah.
And as we're kind of wrapping up and closing out, another benefit of travel, and this is another investment in you as a person and your family, is the inspiration that we receive from travel. When we're on vacation, when we're going new places, meeting new people, experiencing new cultures, oftentimes we're often inspired with how other people do things, and we see people in a new way, and we appreciate our own life and the life of others more. And so there is this whole aspect about travel that it's inspiring, and
Yeah.
that inspiration is a benefit in and of itself.
Yeah. I like, for me, the curiosity of travel. So when I say the curiosity of travel, I love being in places where are foreign to me, where I
Yeah.
don't necessarily know the landscape. I'm not familiar with the people. I love just trying to figure all that out. And one of the things I often do when I do travel for, most of my travel now is for work with the family. It's usually more localized. But when I travel for work, one of the things I always do, wherever area I'm staying in, I'll just wander the streets. I was in
Yeah.
Chicago once. I must have logged like 10 miles walking one day. I went to Chinatown. I walked from Chinatown from the hotel. I just walked up and down the streets, into the grocery stores, into the different shops, just to see what's regular life for other people in other areas, and just kind
Yeah.
of trying to experience it. And it's just, to me, that the curiosity, inspiring, I don't, inspirational maybe, but just kind of fun. It's just kind of fun to learn culturally, and not
Well,
necessarily. When I say culturally, not necessarily like different ethnicities or different cultures per se, but just like the culture of different cities, the culture of
yeah,
different areas.
just what it feels like to be in Chicago, or to be in New Orleans, or to be in Houston or San Antonio. Those cities have different feels from each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I hope everybody is inspired to prioritize vacation and leisure time and downtime. We need to get away. We need to be together. We need to make memories. We need to decompress so that when we come back to life, we're healthier, happier, and more productive. It's
Yeah.
a good investment in your relationships.
Buy less stuff and spend more money on
Amen.
experiences.
Amen. It's worth it.
Yep.
Invest in you, invest in your life, invest in your home, invest in your relationships.
Dr. Matt Morris maintains an active private practice for couples and families in the greater New Orleans area. To learn more about his work, visit drmattmorris.com. Erik Garcia can be found online at plan-wisely.com. His branch office is located in New Orleans, Louisiana. The branch phone number is 504-218-5479. Securities offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through New Century Financial Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance services offered through Garcia Financial Group, LLC. Entities listed are not affiliated.